Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to touch on something that is very, very important. I think that it could be one of the biggest obstacles to overcome in your anxiety journey. And speaking from personal experience, it was quite possibly the biggest setback that I had throughout my own anxiety journey. And to be perfectly honest, it is still something that can creep up and bite me in the butt from time to time. So before I get into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so when I do drop new videos, you get to access them right away. Because I know a lot of people are suffering and struggling with this. I see it now with more and more comments coming in from people. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where to turn. So please help me get the message out to as many people as I can. All right, so with that being said, let's jump right on into this video. Now, what I'm talking about, the symptom that had me going to the emergency room feeling like I was a lunatic and being looked at like I was a lunatic, okay? The symptom was actually not having a symptom, okay? Now, this sounds crazy. And I know when a lot of people are early on in anxiety, they're still having symptoms 24/7. So they don't, you get to a point where you don't actually even remember what things were like before you started suffering from anxiety, before you started experiencing symptoms and sensations all day, every day, in a lot of cases. So I had gotten so deep into the anxiety cycle and I had gotten myself so caught up in sensations and feeling sensations and looking out for sensations that when I didn't experience them, when my body actually became silent and quiet, I freaked out about it. I wasn't very grateful or thankful. I immediately thought that something was wrong. I had gone to I think the cardiologist the first time, or I don't even know, maybe it was an emergency room. There was two trips that I had made. The one in the emergency room, the guy looked at me like I was crazy, to be honest, because he's like, so you can't feel your heart beating. Like, he's like, obviously your heart didn't stop beating. Which I'm like, dude, like, yeah, I know. Like, I know it kind of sounds crazy. And you look back at it and chuckle a little bit. But I had gotten myself so sensitized to feeling everything in my body that when I couldn't feel it anymore, I really freaked out. I remember going outside, and when I started to push myself and started to exercise a little bit, I did a little bit of a jog, and I couldn't feel my heart pounding. I could put my hand to my chest and I could feel my heart thumping, but I couldn't feel it throughout my body. I had gotten so accustomed to feeling it when I did anything. Like I could get up out of bed and walk to the bathroom, and I could feel my heart pounding. But that kind of stuff, it comes and goes. There are still times where I feel it, because it is a long-term process and approach before you could fully desensitize. I get that, but still sometimes I can do certain things and not feel something and check in, and subconsciously it still kind of throws me for a little bit of a loop. But this is something that I haven't really heard that many people talk about. Maybe one other video had mentioned it. I know that this was a massive setback for me. I mean, I had thought that I was doing well a couple of times, and there was another one time in particular where I thought I was doing well, and I was doing well for a couple of weeks, and then I was on a phone call, and I was talking about something that had gotten me a little bit irritated, and I felt myself getting worked up. And the thing was, when I started to get worked up, I started to think about how I was feeling a little bit anxious, but my body was somehow calm. And immediately, because I had gone through, cardiophobia and heart anxiety, that's where my focus and attention went, and I couldn't feel anything. And then I started to kind of freak out and send myself into more into panic mode, not panic attack, but just high levels of anxiety. And that just goes to show you that you could get yourself caught up in these, high levels of anxious moments, high levels of anxiety, and it just lingers and it hangs around for, like a long period of time, but nothing ever comes of it. Nothing bad happened to me, like nothing, but it's just a cycle that you constantly keep getting in. And the negative thoughts and the what ifs and the catastrophizing kick in. And then it doesn't matter how many times you go into it. Logically, you could sit there and say, okay, this has happened to me numerous times before. Nothing bad has ever come of it. Just ride it out, let it pass, let it happen. But when you're in that moment, you're so like locked up on thinking negatively that you just fall right back into the same trap essentially, and start refeeding and refueling. Then the thoughts start coming into play too. So I really wanted to touch on that because it's, all the videos that I come across are really like physical symptom, physical symptom, physical symptom, physical symptom. But when you experience that for so long, that's your body's new normal. Logically you could say, and I was the same way, like I would give anything not to feel any symptoms anymore. Like I don't want that. I want to go back to not feeling anything. Like for 37 years, I didn't even know I had a heart, essentially, because I never felt it beating. I could run. When I was younger, I could go outside and run around all day, every day, playing sports, playing basketball, being active, and I would never feel anything. I would never check in with that. When I was tired, when I was out of breath, when I was, dog tired, I didn't ever check in at it at all with it. But now, everything made me check in. Everything made me check in with it. So it's a very hard habit to break. And when you get stuck in that cycle and feeling symptoms and checking in and noticing everything within your body and becoming super sensitized becomes the norm, what do you do now when you don't feel your heart pounding, when you don't feel your heart beating, when your heart is just acting normally? And I'm not even touching on another problem area for me was heart rate, and I was, wanting to know, what the heart rate is. And these are still things that kind of sometimes come to bite me. But again, long time before I was down here in terms of handling it like below the bottom line. But now, it's a lot better and a lot easier to handle. So again, it's a progress. You just have to progress. It's not linear. It's not a straight line. You go up, you come down, you go up, you come down, you go up, you come down. But at the end of the day, again, as long as you're higher than you were when you started, you're on the right track. I do want to know how many of you actually have gotten to the point where this has been an issue for you. How many of you have gotten to the point where you had physical symptoms all day and it became normal for you and you were anxious about it, and then when symptoms subsided, it was a whole new can of worms because now you're anxious that something was still wrong with you. This is especially going out to anybody that watches this that does suffer from cardiophobia, because you now think that, oh, well, something's definitely wrong now. I used to be able to feel before, now I can't feel anything. And does that send you for a panic? Comment below and let me know where you are. Let me know if you're one of the people that are early on and say, oh, I would give anything not to feel something. And then we'll see. Because again, it's a journey. It's a progress. Some people go from experiencing symptoms to experiencing nothing, and then they're just full of joy. Unfortunately, I was not one of those people. Like I went from experiencing a lot of anxiety to normalizing symptoms and sensations and fearing that the worst was about to happen, and I was going to drop and all those kind of things, and then to go from feeling things to not feeling things. And I wasn't really grateful for it. I was afraid. Like I thought that something had to be wrong. And I remember going to the cardiologist about this. I was having a panic attack in the cardiologist's office, by the way. It happened numerous times. And I went in there and I'm sweating, like my heart's pounding. And I asked the guy, like I went for a jog and I couldn't feel my heart beating. He was like, that's normal. He's like, you're a normal 38-year-old. It's like there's no problems. There's nothing wrong with you. Live your life, enjoy it. And me, I'm like, you get out, you get in the car. I was like, oh my God, everything's fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be able to accept it. I'm going to be able to move on. I'm not going to focus on it. And then when something else comes up, you go right back into focusing on it. So it's a long-term approach. It's a process. If you've seen my other videos, I go into a lot of areas of your life and lifestyle that can help you, exacerbate the recovery, help you, quicken it, as opposed to just going through it and looking piece by piece, day by day kind of thing, looking for a little bit here, a little bit there. And I will also caution you, because this happened to me, you can learn too much. You can research too much. You can learn about too many different conditions and illnesses if you go down that path. And I think that sets a lot of people back. I do believe that knowledge is power, but when you're in a certain state and mindset, knowledge might not be so powerful, because it can and probably will backfire. That's why a lot of people tell you don't Google. So anyway, guys, with this, a lot of times it does work out to be in some kind of muscle tension. You do feel little, little things, in your chest. I know for me, when I didn't feel anything, I tended to still kind of focus on that area, which tends to, of course, tighten that area. And I know that I still subconsciously do that because there are times where I do some, progressive muscle relaxation techniques. That's something that everybody can kind of start out and go along with. You can just Google it. If you have the Dare app, that they're on there. I know Barry McDonough is the one who speaks through and walks you through some progressive muscle relaxation techniques. I'm sure you could YouTube it and find some also. But with me, when you're tightening the chest and releasing the chest, I can 1,000% feel a difference in the tightness between my left pectoral muscle and my right pectoral muscle. I could feel it almost like when I flex them, I could feel almost like a cramping almost immediately in my left, and I can still feel it now when I press on it. Like it is, it's tight because I'm so used to pinching, through the worst of the anxiety period. I could just feel myself pinching my left arm to my side, which if you do that right now and put your hand on your left pectoral muscle, you will feel it flexing. And I was like this for hours out of the day, constantly. And that's why, that's a defense mechanism. This is something that my body does subconsciously when I'm bracing for something, like either bracing for impact or bracing for something bad to happen. And it's tightening your muscles, it's tightening your chest muscles. And of course, your left side of your body is, of course, a cardiophobia sufferer's worst nightmare because everything seems to happen on your left. But a lot of times it's probably because you may be doing that without even noticing. I do notice it a lot more now than I did before. It was just second nature. It went without noticing because my mind was always elsewhere, focusing on the problem that was about to happen. But now I pick it up a fair amount of times. I'll pinch my left arm to my left side, to my ribs, and I'll be flexing my left muscle, my left chest muscle. Pay attention to that. If that's something you guys are doing, try to stop that. Become a little bit more cognizant of what you're doing with your body, and that might help you. Do the progressive muscle relaxation techniques every night before you go to bed. Relax. Try to relax your body. Try to ease some of the tension that you're putting on it. That might help. But again, I just wanted to touch on that because the feeling that it gave, the feeling of the impending doom type of feeling, that's what would flood me. Something bad was imminent. Something was going to happen. The heart was going to stop. That was my mindset every time that happened. Obviously, it didn't. I'm still here. I'm still recording this video. It never happened. All the times I thought that was going to happen, never happened. Numerous cardiologist visits, numerous tests done, different groups doing tests for me, all came back, heart's healthy, everything's fine. And nothing ever happened. And the next video I'm going to touch on, I do want to get into heart rate a little bit because I feel like that's also a real big problem area. But there's a lot of videos that already touch on that elsewhere on YouTube, but this one I don't really see much. I never really came across it. So I wanted to touch on that. So if this is something that you have experienced, if you are suffering from, you're not alone. I've been through that too. So I wanted to say this, try the muscle relaxation techniques, pay a little bit more attention to what you're doing with your body. See if you are flexing, that muscle, because that just throws everything off. If you're focusing one side of your body more than the other, obviously it's going to feel different. Just like if you were exercising one bicep and not the other one. One's going to feel tight, one's going to feel off. And if it's the left side of your body, obviously, because it would be if you have cardiophobia, because you're worried about the heart side, that could be a big factor in why you feel it. So again, yeah, let me know if you've experienced this. Let me know if this is something that you've come across. Let me know if this is something that has worried you. Let me know if you have gotten to the point where you have, had your body start to calm down a little bit, just to find out that when it does calm down, now it opens up a whole new door and a whole new set of worries, which takes you right back to the first set of worries, which is now you're symptomatic again. So thank you very much for watching. If you make it to the end of this video, I greatly appreciate it. I know my videos tend to go on a little bit longer than some other ones, but I feel like there's just too much information. I don't want to leave anything out for you guys. So, and girls. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.